I don't know about fun, just more stuff I wanted to yap about, but, you were on the note of, like, you were talking about the lady not hiring us or whatnot, and I was saying there are cheaper trainers out there,
Mhm.
and there are, and I would say, it's probably better than not doing anything at all, but I was just gonna say watch out who you hire.
Yeah.
Watch who you hire.
Mhm.
Don't don't just hire anybody to train your dog, like, get a temp check. Get a temp check, like, for who
Oh,
you're hiring and stuff like that. Because a
yeah.
lot of these training companies, like and I've riffed about this before. I don't know if it's on the show or on, like, some video or so I know we definitely have it on our thank you page, but,
Mhm.
like, I wouldn't just hire somebody off a phone call, like, a
Yeah.
lot of trainers don't meet with you or whatnot, and I'll say this, like, we have a lot of, like, unique selling positions, like, things that, like, differentiate us from other people or whatnot,
Mhm.
but it's like, if you hire me, I'll come to your house for free and meet you for free. Literally, you
Yeah.
don't have to pay me. Don't pay me for gas. Like, I'm not saying it's always gonna be that way. I might start charging for appointments one day again, but for right now and for many years in the past now, I'll go to your house for free. I'll talk to you as long as you're qualified. I'm not gonna waste my time. But if you're qualified and you're interested, I'll go to your house for
Yeah.
free and I'll talk to you, and you can feel
Yeah.
me out. I'll feel you out. I'll meet the dog. I'll give you some advice. Maybe even work with the dog that first day or whatnot. But like, man, just there are so many people though that just like start or whatever, or like, they keep your dog and then they're heavier handed or whatnot, behind closed doors or whatever it is,
Yeah.
you know, um, and it's just like, man, just be careful, be careful. You can only
Yeah.
train your dog. I guess you can train your dog multiple times, but if you have to work out of a deficit, that
Mhm.
sucks. So just be careful.
Yeah. We have a lot of people coming back to us that have gone through board and train, and because they've not been part of the whole process, and the handover isn't that good. I hate to say that, but they're left not knowing what to do, and then the dog regresses, and
You
then
don't say.
they've wasted all that money, and they
Yeah.
do it right with us.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're not getting trained as part of the process,
Yeah.
you're cooked.
And also, if you're thinking of spending $300-400 going to Petco, that's not the be all and end all of training.
Yeah. Once again, I think it's better than nothing. You're not
It
gonna hear
is
me
better
hate on
than
Petco
nothing.
or PetSmart training. You're not gonna hear me hate on that just because, it gets people in the door and it
Yeah,
opens people's minds to training and stuff or whatnot and, gets them used to the idea of like paying for dog training. So I don't think it's all bad. But it definitely
but they don't address, you know, unwanted impulsive puppy behaviors.
not all of them for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And we also forget, and I think you've mentioned this before, that sometimes the younger dogs that start with training just need a bit of a refresher later on because they don't tend to absorb it and it stick with it. And I suppose that's also down to owners as well, isn't it? That are reinforcing.
Yeah, for
But
sure. Which I guess leads me into my last point, which is really just like looking at the lens of dog training. This is like high level. This is not like tactical advice at all or whatnot. I suppose it could be, but like looking at this lens of like, and this is like one of the first lessons I teach people when I'm teaching people to be dog trainers, but ask yourself kind of two questions. If I want this behavior to keep happening, what do I need to do? If I want this behavior to stop happening, what do I need to do? Now that breaks off into like infinite different directions or
mhm,
whatnot, but that's like very high level. And it's like, how do I reduce the behavior or how do I get the behavior to happen more often? Right.
yeah,
Um, the example I was thinking of the other day is like I met with a family and they had a couple dogs. Anyways, they put one up for the appointment, and then I was just sitting with the one dog, and the one dog kind of was like in a different room, kind of barking in the crate or whatnot. And one of the people kept getting up to like go talk to the dog to like try to settle the dog down or whatnot, and then the dog barked more, barked louder, this and that, and it became like almost unignorable because the person like kept getting up or whatnot. And it's like, well, we should either like a, just ignore the dog, or B, close the bedroom door so we couldn't hear the dog as much and the dog could bark by themselves or whatever.
mhm,
Um, but it's like, it's a pretty simple lens to like look at behavior through though, is like, okay, if I want this to keep happening, what do I need to do? If I want this to stop happening, what do I need to do? And then the follow up there would be like, okay, if I want it to keep happening, by taking the next step of like, what am I going to do to make sure this keeps happening? Ask myself, will what I'm about to do make the behavior keep happening? Right? Like,
mhm,
am I gonna reinforce the behavior so it keeps happening? And the same thing goes with, like, the negative, right? So, okay, I want the dog to stop barking. asking myself, is getting up to go in there to try to calm the dog down gonna get the dog to stop barking? Or is it gonna like, is that gonna make it less likely to happen or more likely to happen? And it's like, well, common sense would say it's gonna make it more likely to happen, right?
Mhm.
Because it's like, well, the dog's getting positive attention for negative behavior. That math does not add up, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and so anyways, it's a pretty simple lens to look at dog training through, but,
Mhm.
yeah, it's a pretty simple lens to look at dog training through, but it can help if you do that, you know? So anyways,
Yeah.
that's it.
Dogs are really good at manipulating things as well, aren't they? They know who to go to, who's the weakest link. There you go.
100%.
They know.
Yeah, I guess kinda on that same note, and this will be the last thing, then we'll wrap up, but, I graduated a dog last night named Ivy, and she's real cute. She's like a 9-month-old, German Shepherd puppy, and, anyways, you know, one of the big lessons I left them with last night as I was giving them their diploma is just like, just stay consistent. Like, you know what to do, your dog knows what to do, you
Mhm.
just have to do it, you know? And, like, one of the examples particularly here is, like, and you could apply this to, like, a number of things, like door manners, kitchen, like, couch manners, things like that, right? But it's like, some of the manners, like, you'll forget that you want them or whatnot, right? So, like, kitchen, for example. So, like, their kitchen, you can enter it from 2 ways. It's like, you know, their living room and the kitchen's kind of the same, like, big room, and they have, like, a kitchen island or whatnot, kinda separating things. But anyways, there's 2 ways to walk in, like, to the back side of the counter by the fridge, stuff like that. Anyways, the first night I went over there, we had worked on, like, teaching the dog to stay behind the line. Anyways, it's pretty easy to just, like, walk in the kitchen and forget, and the dog follow you in the kitchen, right? And so you have to
Mhm.
really actively remember how to, like, tell the dog to stay behind the line, right? And the dog does a really good job staying, but if you forget, she'll just walk in there with you, right? Because she's
Mhm.
like, "Well, they didn't tell me to stay, so I'm gonna go in there anyways," right?
Yeah.
Or last night, you know, we were working on place and stay, and so she's placing, and I'm talking to the husband, we're just hanging out talking or whatnot about stuff, and anyways, she just starts, like, randomly gets up, and it's like, well, why did she do that? Because, you know, she's just like, "Well, I'll try it. Let me see if I can get away with it. And if I can get away with it, then I can go do what I want to." And
Yeah.
if that's way more fun than just laying here watching
Yeah.
you guys stand up and talk, you know? And so anyways, dogs will take the leash that you give them quite literally. If you're healing with them and you give them more leash, they're gonna take it, you know? And so they will cheat if you give them the opportunity to. So just be careful of
Mm.
that. That's all. That's it.